Welcome to the second episode, Chestnut Checkers. Now, this episode is for the people out there living week to week during what is the most uncertain times and definitely the strangest times we've encountered in our lives. Now, my goal here is to get some information out there and to connect with some like minded individuals. Maybe talk about some solutions to some of the stuff going on in the world right now. I'm just done sitting at home complaining. I feel like something has to be done. If this video resonates with you, like, subscribe, leave a comment, and we'll go from there. Now, I'm not doing any kind of promoting. My production right now isn't even on par with what a 5-year-old could probably do on TikTok. But I'm in this thing. I'm trying. I'm learning, getting some experience, and if nothing else, I'll have this to look back on once I figure this stuff out. My last video, I talked about unity. I want to dive back into that a little bit, but first things first. Somebody has to say this, but we need to open this country back up. This half-assed lockdown has done nothing but kill the economy and is having widespread effects in every community. We need to focus on the vulnerable people in our community, focus on the elderly, the immunocompromised, quarantine them, make sure they have everything they need to survive, and open back up. Now, I don't have a political agenda. I'm not left wing or right wing. It's all the same bird. I don't trust it. This country's been on a slow burn for a while now, and this pandemic has exposed a lot of weaknesses in our society. It may be too late now, but people need to wake up. We got to do something. They've been playing chess a long time. Most of the population isn't even aware we're playing a game. Meanwhile, the opponent's 5 steps ahead. They've been lying to us since the very beginning. Now, I could go even back past this, but I'm just talking about the beginning of this COVID nightmare. Like, they started no mask, no mask. Now it's illegal not to wear a mask. You think they're being truthful now? Better question. Do you think our leaders care about us? I doubt it. I guarantee they have a jet loaded, ready and on call for them to take them to their bunkers in Antarctica or New Zealand or wherever they are. They're out of here when this place goes. Like, they're not going to be here, and they're not going to help us. We're on our own. We need a plan like yesterday. They've already shown they're willing to destroy this country to win an election. Like, we're definitely one or two big events from all hell breaking loose. Now, comment if you're with me so far, but I want to change course for a minute to talk about mental health. It's the biggest reason I think we need to open up. This lockdown's affecting the normal everyday people more than anybody else. Lower to middle class people are the majority of this country, and we don't hear from them much. Well, my voice is for them. I'm one of them. Now, I read that suicides have increased 200% since this lockdown. I can't find anything to back up that specific number. The data is either buried or non-existent, but it's definitely clear there's been an increase, and I did find some graphs showing the correlation between unemployment and suicide rates. In the U.S., suicides have steadily increased since the 90s. Now you throw in the lockdown, fear of getting a disease, isolation at an already on-edge population. There's going to be widespread consequences. Let's see if I can find that graph. And on top of that, mainstream media is blasting gloom and doom 24/7. There's going to be consequences, and it's going to hit the poor and middle class the hardest. Now I want to read this paper right here called COVID 2019 Suicides, a Global Psychological Pandemic. An inspiring editorial by Montemuro entitled The Emotional Impact of COVID-19, From Medical Staff to Common People, recently published in the Brain, Behavior, and Immunity motivated us to pin down a concise yet informative viewpoint entitled COVID 2019 Suicides, a global psychological pandemic. I'm not going to do the numbers because this is a couple months old, so they're different now. But with the huge number of COVID cases, with the deaths being reported from around the world, it's complicating the situation and making it difficult to control. The realization of the non-availability of vaccine and or effective antiviral drug against SARS-CoV-2, COVID, I'm just going to call it COVID, and understanding the social distancing and quarantine, self-isolation is the only available remedy to us. Forced the governments of most of the countries to declare the nationwide lockdown. So far, the only advice or the option against the disastrous COVID is screening of suspected person for COVID. If comes positive, then quarantine, self-isolation, in addition to supportive treatment. However, few cases have been reported around the world where people, out of fear of getting COVID infection, social stigma, isolation, depression, anxiety, emotional imbalance, economic shutdown, lack and or improper knowledge, financial and future insecurities took their lives. With recent suicide reports, we can anticipate the rippling effect of this virus on worldwide suicide events. However, the basic psychology and inability of the person and the mass society to deal with the situation are the major factors behind these COVID-19 suicides pandemic. Possible factors and predictors. Social isolation and distancing induce a lot of anxiety in many citizens of different countries. However, the most vulnerable are those with existing mental health issues like depression and older adults living in loneliness and isolation. Such people are self-judgmental, have extreme suicidal thoughts. Imposed isolation and quarantine disrupts normal social lives and created psychological fear and feeling like trapped for an indefinite period of time. The first suicide case was reported from South India on 12th February 2020, where Balakrishna, a 50-year-old man, wrongly correlated his normal viral infection to COVID-19. Although out of fear and love for his family, he quarantined himself, but later committed suicide as he was psychologically disturbed after reading COVID-19 related deaths in the newspaper. In Delhi, India, one COVID-19 suspected man admitted in the isolation ward of the hospital allegedly committed suicide by jumping off the 7th floor of the hospital building. Not only India, psychosocial distress linked to COVID-19 crisis has swept the globe. COVID-19 worries apparently prompted a murder-suicide in Chicago, where Patrick Jessernick shot Cheryl Schriever before shooting himself. Patrick was under the illusion that the two of them had COVID. Worldwide lockdown creating economic recession. The looming economic crisis may create panic, mass unemployment, poverty, and homelessness will possibly surge. The suicide risk or drive an increase in the attempt to suicide rates in such patients. U.S. already claimed a vast increase in unemployment during coronavirus emergency and speculated that lockdown will cause more deaths than COVID-19 itself amid the recession. This uncertainty of time for isolation not only demoralize but also make people feel worthless, hopeless about present and future, as exemplified by the suicide of German Hesse State Finance Minister Thomas Schaefer. Stress, anxiety, and pressure in medical healthcare professionals are at an immense peak. 50% of the medical staff in the British hospitals are sick and at home, leaving high pressure on the remaining staff to deal with the situation. In King's College Hospital, London, a young nurse took her own life while treating COVID-19 patients. Even the forefront warriors, i.e. medical professionals, are constantly in close contact with COVID, positive and or quarantine patients while treating them. They are under psychological trauma. The predictors are constant fear of getting infection, unbearable stress, helplessness, and distress watching infected patients die alone. Yeah, Grandma's been alone for months now. She's not even sick and we're not allowed to see her. You think they're going to let you see your grandma? Or say goodbye to your grandpa? If she gets this thing? Just the thought of them being alone for months, not being able to see their family. It's heartbreaking. I don't know. But anyway, social boycott and discrimination also added a few cases to the list of COVID-19 suicides. A name 2020 reported the first COVID-19 suicide case in Bangladesh, where a 36-year-old man committed suicide due to social avoidance by the neighbors and his moral conscience to ensure not to pass the virus on to his community. And gives a couple more cases, suicides related to COVID-19 stress. Dealing with COVID-19 stress. Scientists across the world are trying hard to develop a vaccine. A couple antivirals are now under phase 3 clinical trials to treat clinical manifestation of COVID. And now different approaches need to be implemented to deal with COVID-19 related psychological stress. COVID-19 is a global crisis, so collective efforts are required to deal with this global pandemic. Emotional distress. People need to first set the limit of COVID-19 related news consumption from local, national, international, social, and digital platform, and the sources must be authentic, like CDC and WHO. And I don't know about that. I don't trust them either. One needs to maintain connectedness and solidarity despite the physical distance. Individuals with a previous history of suicidal thoughts, panic, and stress disorder, lower self-esteem, and low self-worth are easily susceptible to catastrophic thinking like suicide in such viral pandemic. Indirect clues need to be noticed with great care, where people often say, "I'm tired of life, no one loves me, leave me alone," and so on. On suspecting such behavior in a person, we can pull together the people struggling with suicidal ideation to make them feel loved and protected. Sociopsychology needs an interventions for mental rehabilitation should be designed. Telecounseling along with 24/7 crisis response service for emotional, mental, and behavioral support need to be implemented. However, majority of the countries are already practicing and implementing these measures. Healthcare policies and the perception for the COVID-19 healthcare professionals need to be strengthening. Government recommendations to work from home and travel less. Advisories restricted our social life, but we can spend time indoor with our families, connect to friends on social media, and engage in mindfulness activities till we all win this battle. Alright. Let's see, what else do I have here? Alright. Well, I wish I could spend more time researching and presenting this kind of information between all the work I do throughout the week at my regular job, raising my kids, making sure my wife's good. It's hard to find time to do this. But the more people out here talking about this stuff, the better. If somebody wants to collaborate or just talk with somebody that's on the same page as themselves, leave a comment and we'll go from there. I'm not on social media yet, but I will be soon. Anybody having a tough time right now, I know there's a lot of you, but reach out to your loved ones. Reach out to me. Just know we're all going to get through this. The more people that are ready for what's coming, the better. Now I want to circle back to my first video about unity and mention some ways we can practice bringing a little unity to humanity. First, start at home. Make sure your family's good and has everything they need. Check on your friends, even the young healthy ones. Make sure they're doing alright. Make sure they have what they need. Maybe invite them to hang out, do something outdoors. It's been shown the virus dies almost instantly in UV light. So as long as you're outside and not in one another's faces, there's little to no risk. I'm actually going to look that up. Okay, so does appear to be true. I'm not a doctor, so another thing you can do, make sure your family's good. Like, reach out to your mom, reach out to your grandma. I know she's probably not letting anybody around her, but make sure they're good and have everything they need. Check on your neighbors. Make sure that lady across the street is good. Now, I don't mean like go knock on her door. She's probably in there scared to death, so she probably won't answer anyway. But if you catch her outside, just yell over, ask her if she has any, if there's anything she needs. And another thing is try to support your local businesses. I'm really bad about this too, but skip Walmart. You might have to make an extra couple stops, but chances are the businesses in your area, the locally owned shops, are probably struggling and could use your business. If you're scared to go out, uh, reach out to people on the internet. There's a million different platforms. So if you need to connect to humanity and don't want to go outside, that's the place to do it. But I think that's it for today. I love every one of you. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment if you want to continue a conversation or collaborate or anything. Thank you guys so much.